Welcome back to Burn and Barrel, and today we're going to be reviewing Old Grandad Bonded. Old Grandad is distilled by Jim Beam, which is located in Claremont, Kentucky. The story of why it's called Old Grandad goes like this. Basil Hayden Sr. made whiskey as a farmer and distiller, and so he used leftover crops from his harvest to make his whiskey. Once he got older, he then turned it to his grandson, who then called the distillery after his old granddad. Because of this, they haven't really deviated much from the original recipe, if even any at all. The mash bill for this specific bottle is 63% corn, 27% rye, and 10% malted barley. Of course, this being a bonded product means that this is aged at least 4 years and is 100 proof. And now, let's get right into the review. So I've gone ahead and poured out some of the OGD bonded here, so let's get right into the review. So, first look at this. The color is pretty decent on it. It's a Kentucky straight bourbon whiskey, so that means we have at least 4 years on it. Yeah, so this is a 4-year bottle with exactly 100 proof because it is a bonded product. So, for a 4-year Kentucky bourbon, color's not terrible. Again, it's not super light, but it's not super dark either. Just somewhere in the middle. I don't think we're gonna get a ton of like super rich notes on this just because it is a 4-year product and it's a cheaper bottle. I believe this is like 15 to 20 bucks, somewhere in that range, so it's not expensive. But I still think it's gonna be pretty decent because it is Old Grandad. I kind of like Old Grandad. I like Old Grandad's products. The 114 is very good. So that's kind of like my baseline. And I really do enjoy that. I'm hoping that the bonded is at least, again, not bad, just somewhat solid. That's kind of what I'm expecting from this. So let's go ahead and get right into the nose. So the nose, again, we're starting off pretty good. Like I said, I have decent expectations. I'm not thinking this is going to be just incredible, but I do think it's going to be pretty decent. But the nose is giving me some nice sweetness. You know, typical bourbon notes, like I'm getting caramel, a little vanilla. I'm getting, I guess kind of peanut buttery type thing. It's a sweet, like peanut note, so more peanut butter. So a little peanut buttery, and again, that caramel and vanilla. So I mean, again, I think it's a decently sweet nose. Not like overly sweet, not overly powerful either. You know, you still have to get in there a little bit, but not like completely void of anything. So I think it's pretty decent. I'm getting a little oak on there too. Yeah, like this is your standard like run-of-the-mill type of bourbon notes here. This is like what you look for if you're wanting a bourbon, or if you smell a bourbon, this is what I imagine it smells like, of just generic bourbon. But yeah, this is pretty decent. Again, not super powerful, not super in your face. I think it's got a decent balance of some of that savory oak and some of the peanut butteriness of it, which is not as sweet. It's still got a sweet quality to it, but not like as sweet as, you know, the caramel and vanilla. So I think it's pretty good. So let's go ahead and get right into the palate. So it takes a bit of a turn towards not as sweet. Now, it's not saying it isn't sweet in the slightest. It's definitely got that little bit of sweetness aspect to it. It's just, I'm getting similar notes, honestly, that what I got on the nose. So I'm getting, you know, that caramel vanilla that kind of comes through in the mid palate towards the end. And then up front, I'm getting that peanut note, but it's not a peanut butter note. I'm getting now like a raw peanut. So more of almost a little salty, not really, but like that's kind of the vibe I get. So it's more of a for real straight up peanut note. Instead of like the kind of like creamier peanut butter note. But I still like it. It almost is like an actual peanut shell. Like if you ever eat raw peanuts, you sometimes get like the taste of the shell. You know that's the kind of note I'm getting there. Let me make sure I can. Yeah, all of that what I just said I think is pretty, at least that's what I'm getting. Again, I think palates are very different from people. One person can come in this and into this and say, you know, this is just way too bitter. because they tend to have the sweetness, or this, somebody could say, you know, this is too sweet if they just like the bitter and more not as sweet notes. But I think this has got both for me. Again, as you may know if you've watched some of the other reviews on this channel, I tend to like a little bit of a sweeter note on my whiskeys and bourbons. So like single malts I really enjoy just because they tend to have that chocolatey sweetness on there, like that kind of note. Like wheaters I like generally just because, you know, the wheat presents a little bit of that sweeter quality, I feel like, overall. But I still do like rye. Like rye, I love rye. And I love just normal bourbons, and like I like a lot of different types of whiskeys. But like I said, I tend to, if I'm looking for a note, it's gonna be a sweeter note that I would like and prefer. Doesn't mean I don't want no bitterness or no savory notes to it. I do want that to help provide a balance, because if it's just super overpoweringly sweet, I couldn't do it. But this, however, is not super overpoweringly sweet, and I like that. So for the price point you're getting this at, I think it's providing a very serviceable and good quality sipper. Again, I'm not blown away by it. I'm definitely not disappointed by it, but it's just kind of there. Like, it's just there. I'm getting peanut, caramel, vanilla, you know, whether it be peanut buttery kind of sweetness on the nose versus, you know, the peanut normal and kind of peanut shell on the palate. Different, but it's still a same family of notes. And then kind of like on the finish, again, it's not like super short, like it still lingers a little bit, but when it does linger, it's really mainly oak. Like it's oak, a little bit of that sweetness that comes from like the mid palate of like a caramel vanilla, like it kind of transfers through a little bit, but I'm not getting like just like gobs of sweetness or nothing like that, nothing crazy. It's more of just, you know, here's some oak, here's a little bit of that peanut still left over from the palate, here's a little bit of that caramel vanilla, like it just kind of just, a lot of the sweet notes kind of diminish, and then the oak just kind of stays present, stays the same throughout through the finish, to give you more of that, that more, what's the word? I guess savory bitterness to it. It's definitely not as sweet as like the nose and the palate suggested it would be throughout the finish. But again, that's not a bad thing. It's just how it is. So like I said, as I've mentioned, this has nothing super out there. Like, you're not going to come into this getting really good notes of like, you know, or interesting notes of like blackberry and like, you know, molasses, brown sugar. You're not going to get notes of like, you know, like cookies and dessert. Like, you're not going to get those weird, like really interesting notes on this. You're just not. And if you go into that expecting that, you're going to be very disappointed. But if you go into it with the expectation of, I'm spending 15 to 20 bucks, hopefully not spending a lot more than that, 15 to 20 bucks, around that price point, you know you're getting 100 proof, you know you're getting 4 years of age, you know you're getting it from old granddad, so you know all this stuff, so you should be expecting it's going to be at least decent. And for me, if I'm expecting, if I'm getting a $15 to $20 bottle and it's a 5 out of 10, then it's worth the money. Because usually when you get anything under 20 bucks, in today's age, you know, it's usually going to be, most of the time you're going to get down there to like really budget. Like you're going to get like Benchmark, the original Benchmark number 8, and some of the other lower benchmarks can be down there under 20 bucks. You're going to be getting things like Jack and Jim, and you're going to be getting a lot of other like baseline releases, or like blended whiskeys, or really young like 2-year bourbons. Not saying that they're all bad, and I'm not saying that any stretch, but I'm just saying, you know, Jim and Jack, I wouldn't say, for me anyways, is like an average. I would say they're definitely like a below average with sipping whiskey and like neat. Now if you're mixing with them, go right ahead. But for sipping neat purposes, they're definitely below average. So getting something like this, which I consider a 5 out of 10, for that similar price, 15 to 20 bucks, I think is a great deal. You can blend this if you want with like cocktails, like that's perfectly fine. You can actually sip this neat, like I would sip this neat. I don't know if I would sip the regular Old Granddad, because there's obviously the 414, the bonded, and the regular. I haven't tried the regular, I don't believe, but if it's, I have to assume it being probably 80 proof and then being I don't know if it's younger in age, but it probably is. I probably wouldn't sip that neat, because anything lower than this, I probably wouldn't want to sip neat as much and maybe just stick to cocktails. But for this purpose, 15-20 bucks, it being a 4-year product and it being a 5 out of 10 with like your standard bourbon notes, I think that's all if that's all you get out of this bottle, which is for me, I think that's well worth the price and definitely a good value.
Hope you guys have enjoyed this review of Old Grandad Bonded. If you want to check out Old Grandad's website for this product and see a little bit more about their story, or if you want to see a summarized version of this review, be sure to check the description down below for both of those. Also be sure to check out the videos that are on screen now and other reviews that I have done on this channel. I hope you have a fantastic day, and we'll see you next time here on Burn and Barrel.